evening, students. In this segment we are going to start with a new chapter, that is chapter number 19, excretory system, that is excretory products and their elimination, right? This chapter falls under the heading of excretory system. Now whenever we are using the term excretion or excretory system, it basically means removal of the waste products, right? But egestion is also the removal of the waste products. So what is the difference between egestion and excretion? Excretion basically involves the removal or the expulsion of nitrogenous waste products like ammonia, urea and uric acid from the body, while egestion is the waste that is generated by the food digestion, that is by the digestion of food. That is the main difference between egestion and this excretion. So let us define excretion. So excretion is basically removal of non-gaseous nitrogenous waste like urea, ammonia and uric acid, along with excess of water, pigments and certain salts. Along with excess of water, salts and pigments. So this is what the removal of the nitrogenous waste products from our body, and the system that is helping in the removal of these nitrogenous waste is what we call it as excretory system, which comprises of the kidneys, that we will discuss later on. Now whenever we are using the term nitrogenous waste, we need to define like from where these nitrogenous waste is coming, or the nitrogenous products are coming in our body. So there are basically two modes, external as well as internal, right? So the sources are external source, and the second one is internal source. External source basically it comes through the diet. Mainly the proteins which are present in our diet are broken down to produce these nitrogenous waste, ammonia, urea and uric acid. So through dietary proteins, right? Through dietary proteins. And internal sources, the proteins and the nucleic acid which are present within the body of the organism, through proteins and nucleic acids within the body. That's where we are using the word internal source, right? So these are the two important sources through which or by which these nitrogenous compounds are produced or they are obtained in our body. Three main nitrogenous waste that are generated or excreted by almost all the organisms on this earth are ammonia, second is urea, and the third is uric acid, right? So the three major nitrogenous waste are ammonia, urea and uric acid. So we have to discuss like what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages of organisms who are excreting ammonia, urea, uric acid, how much quantity of water is required for the excretion, what is the basic mode of tastal adaptation, each and everything we have to discuss in detail, right? Those organisms which excrete ammonia as their whole and soul or the major nitrogenous waste, they are called as ammonotelism, right? Ammonotelic organism, and the mechanism is what we call it as ammonotelism. So let us first discuss ammonotelism. So first we are discussing ammonotelism. Ammonotelism basically means it is a mode of excretion in which the main nitrogenous waste which is excreted out from the body of an organism is ammonia, NH3, right? So main N waste, that is nitrogenous waste excreted out discuss like how formation of ammonia takes place, where it is formed, what is the cellular location, everything. So ammonia formation basically takes place by a reaction which is called as an oxidative deamination reaction. Basically it takes place in the liver of the body. So formation takes place in the liver by oxidative deamination. Now what is the basic meaning of oxidative deamination? Deamination of amino acids. Oxidative deamination of amino acids, or you can simply write acid. Amino acid basically looks like this. There is a central alpha carbon. Attached to alpha carbon there is NH2 group. Here we have COOH group, because amino acid we are using the term amino acid. That means it has acidic group as well as amino group. Here we have one hydrogen and here we have R group. This R group is basically the variable chain length. We will discuss the structures of amino acids in chapter number 9, that is biomolecule. Right? Now when oxidative deamination takes place, deamination basically removal of this amine group, NH2 group. So let us say NH2 group is removed. Right? So whatever things that remain till this area is some organic acid. Right? So nothing goes waste in our body. Let us say this is an organic acid, any generalized organic acid. This organic acid, it's converted into carbohydrates that are basically the storage polysaccharides, and it is stored in our body and it will be utilized for various energy yielding processes. This NH2 combines with one hydrogen ion to form NH3, and that is what we call it as ammonia. The synthesis takes place in the liver, and the main enzyme that is required is what we call it as oxidase enzyme. Right? So enzyme required is oxidase, OXIDASE. Now there are certain limitations for ammonia. Basically, first, ammonia is highly toxic. Ammonia is highly toxic in nature. Right? So what we have to do is, either organisms has to immediately remove ammonia as soon as it is synthesized in the body, that means in the liver, through the kidney it has to be removed out, or it must be converted into some least toxic components, which are again nitrogenous waste only. So ammonia is highly toxic in nature, right? And it has to be removed. It has to be removed immediately. This is the first option that any individual can take or must possess. Second option is, it must be converted into less or least toxic substance. Converted into less toxic substance. That toxic substance could be either urea or uric acid, because if we talk about the toxicity, ammonia is highly toxic. Then the second number is for urea and the third number is for uric acid. The third important thing that is associated with ammonia is excretion of ammonia requires large quantity of water, and it is highly soluble in water. That is the main problem, right? And this toxic nature is because of its pH. Due to its pH, excretion of ammonia requires large quantity of water. Basically, 1 gram of ammonia excretion requires around 300 to 500 ml of water. So 1 gram ammonia excretion requires 300 to 500 ml of water. That means around half a liter of water is utilized to excrete out only 1 gram of ammonia per urination. That is the main thing. Now, let us consider human beings or any mammals, terrestrial organisms, etc., which lives on the land, where water is always present in the scarcity. There is always limitation. What is always a limiting factor for people like us who are residing on the terrestrial areas, right? So can we afford to lose ammonia? No, we cannot afford to lose ammonia as our nitrogenous waste, because excretion of 1 gram of ammonia requires about half a liter of water. If water is always removed as such, just for removal of the 1 gram of ammonia from our body, then we will suffer from dehydration, and that is not the case. If there is low water, then metabolic reactions would be affected. So we cannot afford to lose ammonia. So basically we are not ammoniotelic organisms. So since excretion of ammonia requires large quantity of water, there has to be certain organisms, there are certain organisms which has or they have the capacity to excrete out ammonia. Basically they are aquatic organisms which lives in the water, right? So they have plenty of the water. If 300 to 500 ml, half a liter of water from that entire marine area, from that entire river or the ocean or the pond area is removed, it doesn't affect on that particular habitat, right? So examples of organisms who are excreting sorry, ammonia, like amoeba, paramecium, hydra, fishes, etc. Amoeba, paramecium, hydra, then we have planaria, we have tadpole, that is immature form of this amphibians like frog. It is ammoniotelic. Frogs, they basically the development stages show different types of excretion. When it is in the tadpole form, it excretes ammonia. But when it changes to the adult frog by metamorphosis process, it becomes urea. Okay? So we will see the dual nature of excretion also. So amoeba, paramecium, hydra, planaria, tadpole. Then we have bony fishes, right? So this is all about the process, the first process, that is what we call it as ammonotelism. These organisms are what we call it as ammoniotelic organisms. Now why we are calling ammoniotelic organisms? Because these organisms secrete or they excrete ammonia as their nitrogenous waste, and the overall mechanism is what we call it as ammonotelism. Now in the next part we will discuss about the